I'm Emily.
I was 30 when I sat on the edge of my bed, holding an old photo. It was me, maybe 5, clinging to my mother's skirt. Her smile was gentle, but her eyes seemed distant. I traced her face with my finger, and tears came. I cried for her that night. Not because she was gone. She was alive, living just a few miles away. I cried because in all my years, I couldn't recall ever hugging her. I grew up in a quiet suburb outside Seattle. My mother, Sarah, was a seamstress. She spent her days at her sewing machine, her hands steady, precise. My father left when I was 3, so it was just us. We had a rhythm. She worked. I studied. We ate simple dinners, chicken, rice, sometimes soup. Life felt calm, predictable, like the soft whir of her machine. As a kid, I thought we were close. I'd sit near her, watching her sew, chattering about my day. I drew a tree at school, I'd say. She'd nod, eyes on her work. That's nice, Emily. Keep drawing. Her voice was even, but it didn't wrap around me like I wanted. I was too young to notice the gap between us. When I was 10, I started to feel it. I'd rush home with a perfect spelling test, holding it up proudly. Look, Mom, I'd say. She'd glance over, nod, and turn back to her fabric.
No, smile.
No, good job. I'd stand there, the paper wilting in my hand, wondering why she didn't care. I started to think I wasn't enough. By high school, I gave up. I'd walk past her, eyes down, heading to my room. Dinner's ready. She'd call. Not hungry, I'd mumble. We shared a house, but we felt like strangers. I told myself it was okay. She was busy. I was busy. That's just how it was. At 18, I left for college. I wanted freedom, a life without that heavy silence. I got a degree, a job, an apartment in the city. I had friends, late-night pizza runs, a boyfriend who made me laugh. But every visit home brought that old weight back. I'd sit across from her at the table, poking at my food. How's work? She'd ask. Fine, I'd say. That was it. No real conversation. No connection. One day, my aunt called. Your mother's in the hospital, she said. My heart sank. I drove to the hospital, gripping the wheel, my mind racing. Asterisk, what if she's gone? What if I never really know her? Asterisk, I saw her in the bed, tubes in her arm, her face pale. She looked so small. I stood there, rooted to the spot. I wanted to touch her hand, to say something, but I didn't. I just stood there. Like always. She recovered. A week later, she was home. I visited, bringing apples like I always did. We sat in her living room, the clock ticking loudly. You didn't have to come, she said. Her voice was flat, but her hands fidgeted in her lap. I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in years. Her hair was gray. Her eyes held something heavy, something I'd never noticed. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about her hands, how they'd worked so hard for me. I thought about all the times I'd turned away, all the times I'd blamed her for the distance. But what if it wasn't just her? What if I'd helped build that wall? I went back the next day. I didn't plan it. I just showed up. She was in the kitchen, stirring soup. Emily, she said, startled. I took a deep breath. Mom, can we talk? She paused, her spoon still in the pot. Then she nodded. We sat at the table. I started small. I remember the red dress you made for my 8th birthday. I wore it until it was too small. She blinked, like she was seeing a memory. You loved that dress, she said, her voice soft. It was the first time I heard it waver. We talked for hours. She told me things I'd never heard. How she cried when my father left. How she worked late nights to pay for my school. How she didn't know how to show love because no one ever showed it to her. I listened, my chest tight. I saw her, not just as my mother, but as Sarah, a woman with her own pain, her own struggles. I reached for her hand. It was warm, rough from years of work. I held it, and she didn't pull away. I'm sorry, I said. I should have tried harder. She shook her head. I should have too. Her eyes glistened. So did mine. We didn't hug that day. It felt too big, too soon. But we started talking more. I'd call her, just to share a story. I'd visit, not just with apples, but with pieces of my life. Slowly, the wall crumbled. One day, months later, I was leaving her house. I turned back, and before I thought too much, I hugged her. She tensed, then softened. Her arms came around me, careful but real. I felt her heartbeat. I didn't cry. I smiled. Now I see her every week. We drink tea. We laugh. She tells me about her childhood, about songs she loved. I tell her about my dreams, my fears. It's not perfect. Sometimes we still fumble for words, but we try. And that's enough. Looking back, I see it now. I spent years waiting for her to reach out, to love me the way I wanted. But love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. The meals on the table, the late nights at a sewing machine, the hand that doesn't know how to hold you, but tries anyway. I cried for my mother because I thought I'd lost her. But I hadn't. She was there waiting just like I was. Don't wait for the perfect moment to love someone. Don't wait for them to say the right thing or make the first move. Reach out. Hold their hand. Hug them, even if it feels strange. Because one day, you might look back and realize you had all the time in the world, but you didn't use it. If this story touched you, share it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. Have you ever rebuilt a connection with someone you thought was lost?